Coming in at number 3 on the Locked On Senators 2023 draft rankings, it's Leo Carlsson. He is putting up historically good numbers in the SHL as just a young buck. Not only did he put up nearly more than a half a point per game, with Örebro of the SHL, he then put up 6 points in 7 games with Sweden at the World Juniors. And, had 5 points in 8 games playing against men at the World Championships. It looks like he's going to go back to Örebro next year. I think that can change depending on the situation, whether he goes third to Columbus or slips even further down. There is an X factor we'll get to next week that could throw a wrench in basically from here on. But I put in the side lineup, is he a modern day Matt Sundin? Because if you look at how Matt Sundin played with that enormous frame, quick hands, very, very highly intelligent. A lot of the scouts saying this could be the smartest player in this draft class.
Yeah, and I mean, a guy that has that much pro experience, I can see that, Ross, because you look at a guy like Leo Carlsson, he played 44 games in the SHL this year, but he also played 35 games in the SHL last year or the year before as a 17-year-old. So you're looking at math guy here, 79 games in the SHL already. Yeah, not bad, eh? So that's the thing. Like, he has good size, 6'3", 194. So that helps playing up against the pros. And from the highlights I saw, it did not look out of place. Like, sometimes when you're watching those highlights, Ross, you're like, oh, there's the little speedy, skilled guy. Like, that's the prospect. But here, it wasn't that obvious. And I think that all that pro experience is really going to help him. And maybe he's one of those guys that wants to play a little longer in Sweden. Nothing wrong with that. But if him and the team that draft him decide that, hey, let's bring you over, we're ready, I don't think it'll be that difficult for him.
And we've seen precedents of that in the Senators organization with Mika Zibanejad, where they're like, hey, let's give it a try. They brought him over. He played 9 games, just had 1 assist. And they're like, you know what? Go back to Sweden, get more confidence, and come back next year. Did that work out okay with Mika Zibanejad? Did he do okay?
Yeah, he's doing all right for sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, similar structure as well. Both really big kids, but will they push back when the push comes to shove in the National Hockey League? I think eventually, no doubt, but it's just how confident can you be in a guy who's 18 years old? He'll be 19, though, in December. So one of the older players in this draft class. He can play the wing as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him start on the wing. But like you said, just brings so many intangibles to the game. If he doesn't have his A game going, he's got a B, C, D, and E game where he's got so many bags, so many tools in his toolbox that he's able to kind of put them all in his bag and use whichever one comes to his fruition at a great time. In our draft rankings, we have Craig Button, Chris Peters, and elite prospects all have him at 3rd overall, whereas Bob McKenzie, Scott Wheeler, and Corey Pronman have him 4th. No spoilers as to who is above him in their rankings, but he averages out for 3.5 to us. And you know what? You see 25 points in 44 games, and maybe some people go, hey, that's okay. But it's also playing against men at this age. Pilsy, the 5th most productive SHL draft eligible season. You've got the names of just what kind of company Leo Carlsson finds himself in.
Yeah, it's pretty good company, Ross, that's for sure. So he's trailing only Daniel and Henrik Sedin, Elias Lindholm, and Nicholas Backstrom. So, I mean, those guys all, and some of them are still in the league thriving. So that's definitely a good sign if you're a team that's going to draft Carlsson.
What will a team love most about Leo Carlsson?
I think what a team will love most about him is all that pro experience, like we mentioned, but he has a lot of confidence. The highlights that I saw, he had no issue trying to use his hands in tight right in front of the net. And when you do that, you're going to face physicality, you're going to face pushback. And that didn't deter him at all. Like, some of the younger guys are like, I'll stay outside and try to find a seam where I can pass to a teammate to get to those hard areas, or I'll take a long mid-range shot instead. Leo Carlsson's like, no, I know I've got a higher percentage to get a good quality scoring chance if I get to that slot. And if there's a defenseman or two there, I'll just try to deke around him and make it work. Now, it doesn't always work. Sometimes he kind of lost control of it, or they'd play the body on him. But the fact that he's confident and he's trying those things already in a pro league is pretty impressive. And I think with some time and some development, you could see him pull off those moves with more success.
I know we already said that Adam Fantilli is going to play in the top 6 next year in the NHL, but with his experience playing against men already, do you think Leo Carlsson could be more NHL ready and potentially the most NHL ready outside of Connor Bedard in this draft? Situations aside, they're both going to play on pretty bad teams. It's either going to be Columbus at 3, San Jose at 4, or Anaheim at 2. Who has more points next year in the NHL, Carlsson or Fantilli?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I might say Fantilli just because I think that he has a little bit more tools that he can use that'll help him get points. But that's not to slight Leo Carlsson, because the thing too is he got a lot of time playing on the top power play in the SHL, which the young guys, like, usually you're lucky if you get a sniff on the second power play unit, and he was consistently on the flank on that power play. And the thing I like about Carlsson too is in the SHL, he pretty much primarily played as a winger, but growing up, he was a centerman. So that adds some versatility to his game, which I think can help him transition to the pros.
And a perfect yin and yang down the middle long term if he goes to Columbus, where you have Kent Johnson, the highly video game type player, and then Leo Carlsson, the smart, big, power forward. Like, you see a little bit of Anze Kopitar in his game too, eh? Like, just the way he kind of patrols the middle of the ice, very sturdy and just a hell of a player. And I think Columbus would be the perfect landing spot for a guy like Leo Carlsson as well.
Yeah, I think so. And the nice thing with that, Ross, is you mentioned Kent Johnson, but I mean, I'm not sure what's going to happen with Laine there, but if you got wingers like Johnny Gaudreau and Patrick Laine, like, that helps out a lot for young guys being able to just say, hey, all I got to do is feed these guys the biscuit and they're going to do the rest.
They're going to do just fine. What are the scouts saying about Leo Carlsson? Chris Peters says, with size, hockey sense, and skill, Carlsson is one of the most complete players in the draft. He checks so many boxes and can produce at a rate that suggests he'll be a top of the lineup NHL player. Scott Wheeler says Carlson's one of the smartest players in the draft and understands spacing and timing on and off the puck at an advanced level for his age. If you want to hear what the players think, hey, go check out our latest interview with Oscar Pettersson when we had him off last, because he played internationally on Team Sweden on a line with Leo Carlsson. So he knows firsthand, and he told us, man, like, you just know where to go, wherever you go, it's appropriate for you to get the puck. You don't even have to look. You know that it'll be on your stick because Carlson's got that sixth sense with him.
Yeah, and he mentioned how it's easy to play with guys like that. And he was thrilled. Like, as soon as we brought it up, he was just like, oh man, playing with Carlsson, like, it's great.
Yeah, Sens fans know how cool it is when you watch a guy named Carlsson out there. But unfortunately, Leo Carlsson, very unlikely to ever play for the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah, probably not. Now, if there's one thing, and you asked me if I think Fantilli or Carlsson will produce more in the NHL right away, if there's one knock on Carlsson that doesn't appear with Fantilli, quite the opposite, actually, it's the skating. And now, that's not to say that he's a bad skater, but these guys have similar size, and Fantilli is an amazing skater, whereas Carlsson is, maybe just an average or good skater. So that's the one separating quality between these players, Ross, that I think is going to help Fantilli transition a little bit easier than Carlsson, because as we know, like, this league is all about skating. Like, if you're not an above average skater, you're probably playing fourth line or you're a seventh defenseman. Like, it's hard to keep up, shift in and shift out with the rest of these guys.
Leo Carlsson comes from a hockey family. His dad played professionally as a tough, hard-nosed defenseman, while his older brother plays defense as well in a Division III men's league in Sweden. Now, off ice, Leo Carlsson, much like any kid, very happy, very enthusiastic, very hardworking. Scott Wheeler covered a unique part of Leo Carlsson, and he stutters when he talks, and it happens more when he's nervous, when he's in front of cameras and speaking a second language. I thought it was a very well done article by Scott Wheeler, just talking about how he's grown into kind of just accept that's a part of him, and it doesn't mean he's any lower or any worse than anybody else. But just it's a very kind of interesting, kind of similar, like the story of that Wheeler did on Zach Ostapchuk. I just think Wheeler's really good at kind of tapping into the emotion of a story, and I think he really nails it here. So go check out on The Athletic the Leo Carlsson article that Scott Wheeler put out if you want to learn more about Leo Carlsson. But bottom line, like to wrap things up, Billsy, this guy, he's going to be a top of the lineup center. And if you're looking for help down the middle and you have a top 3 pick in this draft, like this is franchise changing stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And Ross, on that note, I wonder if it maybe will be a mutual advantage for Carlson to go to maybe a smaller market team like Columbus, where it's not like Montreal or Vancouver or Chicago where he's going to be the center of attention all the time, and going out to dinner and stuff. If you're not playing well, you're going to hear it and things like that. I wonder if maybe that's something that actually could be advantageous for a guy like Carlson.
Yeah, well, we'll find out sooner than later. NHL Draft coming up. Make sure you check out all of our player profiles that we're going to post on YouTube by themselves, and make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Senators.